I mean, he works his ass off. The guy can fight. He's a world champion, but just because you can fight and just because, like, it doesn't really mean, like, doesn't make you like a man, and there's these moments when, like, you see kind of like past, hey, I could fight. He works his ass off like Costa. It just...
So after Sean Strickland went completely public with his call-out campaign targeting Khamzat Chimaev, what was Khamzat's response? Instead of getting into some messy social media war, the guy went completely silent, but then something interesting happened. Training clips started dropping that showed him grinding harder than ever in the gym, pushing his limits like a man possessed. This naturally got everyone talking about a potential blockbuster fight. While Sean kept running his mouth, Khamzat just disappeared into training camp, preparing like this massive showdown was already locked in. That kind of silent confidence hits different.
With Sean Strickland, he's been saying some stuff in interviews about he just didn't like your approach. Just why do you think he's saying that, and do you have a response?
I don't know. When I was there, they even never said anything, When I leave the Vegas and when they stop my visa, they start to talk. When I come back, I'm in LA, bro. Come on. If it's something personal for you, just come. I'm here whenever you want.
Okay. When it comes to how Khamzat handles Sean's constant trash talk and accusations of being soft, his approach is crystal clear. He's not interested in playing games. Khamzat shot back with a straightforward message telling Strickland to be patient, wait for his visa situation to get sorted out, and then they can have their real conversation inside the Octagon where it belongs. That's how two elite fighters should settle their business.
Sean Strickland next. Guys, there's no debate. I had 24 hours to think about this. Because here's what I don't want to do. I got to tell you, as an authority figure in this sport, I don't want to pan Imanov. I don't want to do that. I respect him. I respect what he's done. I respect his patience. But Sean Strickland fought him in head-to-head competition. Now, a couple of things came out. I am behind the scenes, and I can tell you, guys tiptoe around Chimaev. Guys are scared of Chimaev. He has a presence. Sean Strickland said, man, I used to be in the gym with this guy. He's a punk. Ask the people that were there. Sean Strickland said, when I come into a gym, I go find the biggest, baddest dude, and that's who I spar with. When Chimaev comes in the gym, he finds the easiest opponent.
One insider revealed he took a full day just thinking this whole situation through, making sure he wasn't pushing anyone's hidden agenda. He also talked about something fascinating, how other fighters react when Khamzat walks into a room. There's this presence about him that just demands attention. Then there were those comments Sean made about their gym sessions. Sean claimed he always hunted down the toughest sparring partners while suggesting Khamzat preferred easier rounds. That's basically questioning Khamzat's heart, coming from someone known for never backing down from anyone.
You're disrespecting everything that Fluffy Hernandez did. Fluffy Hernandez beat 9 men in a row. If Fluffy Hernandez beat Sean Strickland, that would be 10 in a row. 10 is the biggest number in the history of the UFC that anybody's had to do to get a title shot, and that distinction belongs to Merab. But to remind you, Merab was offered a title fight after 7. So the point that I'm making, if Fluffy Hernandez would have won and he would have gotten a title, we're being very disrespectful to the 9 men that Fluffy beat. We're being very disrespectful to the opportunity that Fluffy should have had. And when you play this game, it's the ultimate poker hand. You're all in. Whatever you got is on the line. You got a belt, it's on the line. It doesn't matter if you're undefeated and this guy's lost 5 fights. It doesn't matter if you're ranked number 1 and he's ranked number 8. When you get in there, it's all on the line, winner take all. Sean Strickland took it. Sean Strickland.
The beating continues in the corner as the discussion expanded beyond just the fight itself. When you consider a fighter's journey, someone who's put in the work, taken all the risks, and conquered the biggest tests, you're not just looking at that individual warrior. You're actually diminishing every opponent they defeated, every obstacle they had to overcome to reach that level. Look at those incredible winning streaks in the UFC, and you'll see just how brutally difficult it is to string together victories in this unforgiving sport. The message becomes undeniable when a fighter steps up in a main event, puts everything on the line, and walks away victorious. That performance has to count for something real. Sean Strickland did exactly that in his last fight. He risked it all, and because of that undeniable performance, he absolutely deserves his shot at...
Now, I do want to say, I was with Khamzat last week on the Jackson podcast, and Khamzat Chimaev told me that he is 240 pounds, right? What do you weigh right now, Khamzat? What do you weigh? Come on.
You can keep it a secret if you want.
I don't know.
That is gigantic. That is a good weight for a heavyweight, let alone a middleweight that fights at 185 pounds, 84 kilos. That would be a 55-pound weight cut that he has to go through. And by the way, he didn't look fat. He looked to be in really good shape, and he's down there in Newport Beach, California, training, running on the beach every single day. The man is working out hard, but there's no talks of a title fight. In fact, I asked him, who will you be fighting? And he said, brother, I don't know.
The discussion then moved to Michael Bisping's perspective, and as usual, the outspoken former champion had plenty to say about a potential Sean versus Khamzat matchup. Bisping is completely behind making this fight happen. Here's where things get wild though. Bisping mentioned talking to Khamzat recently and dropped this bombshell. Khamzat is apparently walking around at a massive 240 pounds right now. Bisping stressed just how significant that weight cut would be for someone who normally fights at 185. That kind of massive weight drop isn't just difficult, it's a brutal, punishing ordeal that takes a serious toll. He clarified that Khamzat isn't out of shape, he's actually training hard in California and looking sharp, but since there's no confirmed championship fight lined up for Khamzat yet, and he's the champion without a clear next challenger, Bisping strongly believes the priority should be defending the belt he already has rather than potentially moving up in weight and creating more chaos in the middleweight division.
There certainly is some words, and Sean Strickland has beaten him before, beaten via decision. The reality is, who deserves it more? I don't know. Sean's only on a one-fight win streak, but he is a former champion. Imavov hasn't done that, right? The reality is, Chimaev has got to fight one of them. I know he's talking about going up to 205, or he's thinking about going up to 205, and making 185 from 240 pounds will be very hard, okay? But I would love to see him in there with Strickland, certainly when he says that he choked him out multiple times, and his lightweight training partner choked him out a bunch of times. And then you've got Strickland calling him a Chechen and all this type of stuff, right? Talking a lot of shit, talking a lot of smack, not afraid to poke the bear, shall we say, right? That fight's got to happen. I want to see it. You want to see it. The whole world would love to see it, right? So I think he's got to stay at 185 pounds.
The conversation then shifted to Sean and the other top middleweight contenders, particularly focusing on a dangerous talent like Nassourdine Imavov. Bisping acknowledged that Imavov is an incredibly dangerous and lightning-fast opponent, a real threat to everyone in that weight class. But he quickly pointed out the crucial fact that Sean Strickland had already faced and defeated Imavov. This led Bisping to ask the direct question, who really has the stronger argument? He noted that while Sean is currently on just a one-fight winning streak, it was a major victory, and he's also a former champion, which adds serious weight to his resume. Throughout his analysis, Bisping kept coming back to his main point. Khamzat absolutely needs to fight one of the world's elite middleweights, and the Strickland fight is clearly what the fans are demanding, especially given their obvious bad blood and personal animosity.
Now, but is he the contender, do you think, next for the title in your mind that could potentially have the most challenge to Khamzat out of the possible contenders right now?
Oh, it's hard to say. Like, I definitely think he has an argument now, especially because he's beaten Imavov and because of the way he put away Fluffy. But honestly, it's anybody's guess. You know, it's anybody's guess. The title fights and like contenders and that whole conversation is just so, random.
Robert Whitaker, another absolute legend in the middleweight division, was asked whether Sean Strickland should get the next shot at Khamzat, and surprisingly, he didn't completely shut down the idea. Coming from a former champion of Whitaker's caliber, that's meaningful validation. He thinks Sean has built a solid case for such a big fight, especially after his dominant decision win over Imavov and the way he dismantled Costa in his most recent outing. Those are the kinds of performances that grab attention and earn respect. However, Whitaker also understands the harsh reality that the UFC's title picture is often wildly unpredictable, almost like a lottery system, and it's not always or even usually decided purely by who deserves it most. Still, despite that caveat, based purely on Sean's recent performances and his fighting style, Whitaker believes Sean has definitely positioned himself right in the thick of title contention.
I mean, I know you've been in there with Khamzat, man, and Sean Strickland's taking defense is pretty good, but we haven't seen him in there against. Like, would you say Fluffy and Khamzat, it's two different levels when it comes to the grappling? Would you say, like, in terms of the way, the strength, and yeah,
absolute night and day. Like, having been in there with Chimaev and seen, and everyone who saw what he did to Dricus, like, there's not, mate, like, it's not the same. It is not the same.
As their conversation naturally shifted to the actual mechanics of a potential fight between them, the specific details of how that battle would really play out, Robert Whitaker remained firm in his assessment. He acknowledged that Sean's takedown defense is genuinely excellent, an incredible skill for dealing with most opponents. However, Whitaker stated with complete certainty that grappling with Khamzat Chimaev is an entirely different beast altogether. It's a unique animal, a challenge that operates on a completely different level of existence, and Whitaker speaks from deep personal experience. He's actually fought Khamzat before, having shared the Octagon with him, so he truly knows what that feels like. He even specifically mentioned what Khamzat did to Gilbert Burns, a graphic and disturbing display of Khamzat's absolute dominance, and flatly stated that this is simply not the same level of grappling or the same kind of physical punishment Sean Strickland has ever faced in his career up to this point.
Chimaev and Sean Strickland should be the next middleweight title shot in the division, and I'm going to tell you why in today's video. My name is James Lynch. So Sean Strickland getting a huge win last weekend at UFC Houston in the main event, taking out Anthony Fluffy Hernandez by knockout. It was a picture-perfect performance here from Strickland, getting the third-round finish, stopping Hernandez and his 8-fight win streak, and solidified himself as a contender in the weight class. And right now, at the time we're talking, there is not a fight booked yet for Khamzat Chimaev. There's been a couple rumors out there, but you heard Strickland after his fight with Fluffy Hernandez. We'll play a little snippet of it here. He talks about what he wants next when Michael Bisping asks him, and Strickland doesn't hesitate, talks about Chimaev. We're going to watch that clip here real quick.
Next, Sean. I don't know, man. Chimaev probably gets off the bench here. I'd like a piece of that little Chechen. But you never know with him, bro.
Yeah, so you can see there, he wants this fight. And then to go even further, Strickland at his media scrum before, of course, he was cut off, which I'm not a fan of, talks about how he made Chimaev quit in training. Now, I'm not usually a fan of fighters revealing things in the gym. I think that's bad practice, but this is only going to build up the...
James Lynch, a well-respected voice in the MMA community, has been arguing from day one that the next crucial middleweight fight should absolutely be Khamzat versus Sean Strickland. He specifically highlighted Sean's completely dominant knockout victory over Anthony Hernandez, calling that performance a definitive statement. Looking at the current divisional landscape, Lynch noted Sean effectively snapped an 8-fight losing streak, an incredible comeback, and achieving this remarkable feat in a crucial main event significantly boosted his profile. Additionally, and this is key, Khamzat currently has no scheduled fights whatsoever, leaving his championship status in an uncertain limbo. Lynch argues it's completely obvious that Sean moved quickly, calling out Khamzat immediately after his decisive victory, and with no clear challenger waiting for the current 185-pound champion, the stars seem to be aligning perfectly. Lynch then went on to examine the intriguing possibility of Khamzat potentially moving up to the 205-pound light heavyweight division, pointing out that Khamzat just recently captured the championship but hasn't even had a single opportunity to defend it yet. Lynch's perspective, shared by many purists, is that planning a move to pursue success in another weight class before establishing dominance in your current division is premature. He strongly advocated keeping Khamzat locked at 185 pounds, ensuring he stays active and builds his legacy there. He pointed out the obvious double standard, emphasizing how quickly and harshly people often criticize other champions for being inactive, then asked very reasonably why should this situation be any different. Following Lynch's compelling arguments, Brendan Schaub, another influential voice, clearly stated the UFC needs to immediately book the Khamzat vs. Sean fight next. He quickly dismissed Imavov getting a title shot, arguing Sean already beat him, and crucially, Sean Strickland is the bigger draw, a vital factor in the fight business. Schaub emphatically stated the UFC desperately needs stars, particularly American ones, for pay-per-view sales and mainstream appeal, and this specific fight is completely ready to go right now. He confidently predicted Sean would instantly accept the fight, noting he came out of the Hernandez fight virtually untouched and in perfect shape for a quick turnaround. Schaub went even further, boldly predicting that if Sean were to beat Khamzat, the UFC would suddenly have an absolutely massive American star. Exactly as he truly is, he powerfully shut down his critics, looked sharper and better than ever, and right now Khamzat sits as the reigning champion with no clear established next opponent waiting. The storyline for this confrontation is already completely written. The hatred between these two is real and absolutely authentic. The contrast in their fighting styles is utterly fascinating and genuinely meaningful in every way. Sean's relentless pressure and sharp striking against Khamzat's elite grappling and raw power creates a compelling, legitimate test for both elite fighters. From both a pure sporting perspective and a smart business angle, this fight makes complete sense right now. If they wait, the momentum and clear excitement will definitely disappear, but if they book it immediately, it feels absolutely necessary. This is what makes this crazy sport special. When everything aligns with this much logic, you simply can't overthink it. You make the fight and let them settle it inside the cage once and for all. Both of these incredible athletes stand completely in their prime. Both truly believe with every fiber of their being that they are the absolute best in the world. There's absolutely no reason to complicate this perfect scenario with additional fights or unnecessary delays. Fans are desperately hungry for clarity in the middleweight division, and this particular fight delivers exactly that. Will Sean's cardio and relentless pace break Khamzat down over 5 championship rounds, or will Khamzat survive Sean's initial storm and impose his will when it matters most? That right there is exactly why this fight means so much. Drop your prediction in the comments below about who takes this.